not to bring up your old institution. I feel like Harry Potter on the train.
Yeah, exactly right. Hello everyone. From UCLA Anderson and the Drive Time Podcast Network, welcome to the first episode of AnderChats, a new podcast series hosted by me, Elias Warren, a 2024 UCLA fully employed, also known as FEMBA, MBA graduate. It's been just over half a year since my class, the class of 2024, graduated. And now that the dust has finally settled, it's time to do an MBA's favorite pastime, a post-mortem. Just kidding. Another answer would be a happy hour. As you would expect, the days and months following graduation have been filled with many questions. Namely, how did we get all this done? How are we able to balance school, work, a personal life, and more? And for our guests, not just balance, but thrive. We'll get to the bottom of all these questions and more to demystify the UCLA Anderson FEMBA experience, and hopefully inspire you to go on your own personal journey of learning and self-discovery. My guest today has been in the medical technology and innovation field for over a decade. Born and raised in the great state of New Jersey, he moved to Southern California to strengthen his leadership and champion innovation at Edwards Lifesciences in Orange County. He's dedicated his career to helping patients by empowering brilliant teams to create impactful blue sky medical devices. While at Anderson, he focused his studies on leadership, marketing, and finance. Now, post-Anderson, he recently took up a position at Johnson Johnson, but more on that later. Our conversation will be wide-ranging, but we'll focus on building your lifelong cohort, from in and out of the classroom to your capstone project and beyond. I'm so excited to have this guest on because not only is he insanely intelligent and gifted, but also wildly creative, witty, and one of the hardest workers I've known. And, I should disclose, he's my best friend. Nick Schleiger, welcome to AnderChats.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the kind words. I really appreciate it.
No, of course. All right, so I'm going to ask you the question that I've been asked since day one of graduation. What do you do with all your free time?
Oh, man. I think since undergraduate, I went to Georgia Tech undergrad. I think since undergraduate, I really didn't know what free time was. Engineering school was really, really tough, and it's been a passion of mine for the past 10 years, like you said, yeah. But I think ever since that time, I've always found ways to fill my time with, self-growth, challenge. I'm a serial hobbyist. Maybe that's a good way to answer this question. So no matter how much free time I do have, I will find something fun or challenging or something that just tickles my brain that keeps me interested for a while. So my free time is now filled with music, some off-roading, hanging out with friends, right? You and I have been to the gym a lot together, so exercise has become as much of a hobby as it should have been the entire time. That's kind of what I've been doing with my free time.
Sure, for sure. Well, listen, I think that is one of the things that really strikes me, and it always struck me about you, is just being like in control. You're very intentional about what you do. And listen, for anybody going into an MBA program, not anybody, a lot of people, right? It should be a very intentional decision. Yeah. So I'd love to just have you talk through why you decided to go pre-MBA, just full stop.
Yeah, I think that's a question everyone grapples with before, during, and sometimes after as well. Hopefully it's not as much, hopefully it's not as often people think about that question after. Yeah, like you said, I was in engineering for probably about like 6 years, 5-6 years when I started to think about business school. I think the major theme behind my decision was I was always told I was a bit different than other engineers. Don't get me wrong, was very good at my job as an engineer, and still am. But there was always a high level interest in why we make the decisions we make as technical contributors, especially in healthcare, right, where patient safety and patient outcomes are the most important thing. I was always interested in why are we choosing to make these products? What are the features that we want to make and why?
Yeah.
How are we getting this into market, into patient or into physicians' hands and into patients? How are we doing that in our best capacity? And the engineers as an engineer, I was the one to kind of blossom that process, but you only get to travel with it so far. So I knew that in order to really navigate such a complex industry, healthcare is highly regulated. There's a lot of different users that need different things, the physicians, the patients, the hospital administration, all different groups that have different priorities. Whether it was working in the industry for 20 years and picking that skill set up, or coming to business school and getting that exposure in a very concentrated dose, those were the kind of the options I was looking at, and I knew I wanted to do it sooner rather than later. So business school was kind of a must for me as an engineer who really, wanted to do more with my technical degree than do design work. I wanted to extrapolate that to more business value.
Yeah. So you brought up one of the reasons why coming to Anderson and getting your MBA period is you wanted to build out your leadership skill set, right? And that's something I very much connect with. It's one of the reasons why I came as well. And I think one of the ways that folks tend to really dive into their own form of leadership is through their capstone. And so just as a personal anecdote, it's one of the reasons why I decided to get a head start early on sort of capstone, building a team, understanding to sort of actually take the bull by its horns, that project, and really run with it. So, and for everyone that's listening to this, watching this, full disclosure, Nick and I co-led our team together. So I really had an opportunity to see you flourish in your own leadership style, which was different than mine, which was I thought was necessary in the success of the team. So I would love for you to just talk about your capstone experience, and in particular the early days, and in particular sort of thinking through, because we were pretty intentional early on about wanting to lead this thing together. So walk me through that, and sort of walk us through your why for choosing GAP and for leading the team like we did.
Yeah, I mean, as a summary, capstone was probably the highlight of the program for me, or one of them. So I'm glad we're talking about that, because I think you and I forget when we started capstone, maybe like June, July, August time, we started to really ramp up for capstone. But I think we had been talking about it the previous December. Previous is November, December,
correct.
So a good 6 months ahead. And I think you and I both knew that project, that course, whatever you'd like to call that stint of our program is a long time. It's what, 6 to 10 months is right? Of talking about like planning it, getting the group together, resume packets, getting selected with a company, and then the actual project, right? That's a lot of time to be spending with a group of people, and it's also a serious chunk of time of the overall program. It's also probably one of the closest ways that we were going to get real industry professional experience. We try to do that every day in our coursework at Anderson, but I think to really get that learning opportunity is to be in the position to do the job. That's why we're all in this program, is to eventually do those jobs. So I think you and I were thinking about it at the right time, which was who do we want to spend 8-10 months with? And you and I were both told pretty heavily by people who've been in capstone before, like it's not a thing you can just cruise through, right? So if you don't have a good group, it's not something you can just kind of check in once a week and get through it. You have to work together and work together well if you want to have a good time and have a great outcome. So I think you and I thought about the diversity of the people that we wanted, and the personalities of the people that we wanted. Who had we worked with already in the program that we thought A, were great to work with, but B, also had a diversity of opinion and weren't afraid to constructively and healthily argue, debate, talk about things, right? So I think that was what we had been thinking about to produce the best team, was who do we love working with, who has unique opinions and is willing to voice them, and who's intentional about their work and wants to work hard. So I think we put together an amazing team, probably the best team we could have thought of. Yeah, that I'm happy we did that early, and
that was necessary.
I think we were both nervous. I think the whole team was nervous figuring out like who we're going to be paired with, right?
Yeah.
It's like getting drafted in the NFL. You know, like
sure.
it's only for 6 months, not for your entire career. But at the same time, you're wondering who you're going to get paired with. So.
And for context, the listeners, who you paired meaning the company that you're going to be paired with.
Correct.
Because you have a list of options that you tier, but there's no guarantee that you get.
Correct. And kind of going back to your question about like why capstone. Doing a startup with UCLA Anderson, the cohort and colleagues and classmates would have also been very interesting and fun.
Yeah.
But for me, there was never going to be another opportunity where I could be a consultant, for lack of a better term, for a company internationally. Right. I mean, maybe I'll get there. Maybe I'll get to that point, but that opportunity doesn't come very often. And in a very low pressure way with a safety net, right? We want to do our best job. We want to make sure we deliver for the client, for the partner company, but at the same time, there's not always that safety net of let's try something crazy or different because we want to see if it results in something great. Usually there's a lot of pressure to do the right thing, not try the best thing. So I think there was not going to be another opportunity for me at least to be that type of a consultant in that type of environment versus a startup. Again, serial hobbyist. I do see myself as a side gig or in the future doing something on the side. So that's always something I've wanted to do, and I also want to pursue something like that in my own timeline, in my own way, and kind of figure that out on my own journey. But the consulting gap program was kind of a no-brainer, especially when I knew that you wanted to do it as well. I was going to ask, my next question for you was going to be, having been through this experience with building this team and working with all of us. How does that set your expectations for when you do get to build your own teams, or maybe when you don't get to build your own teams, but you're part of a decision-making process or a group that you need to work with? How has your experience with us and in the capstone program lifted or changed your expectations for how you would like to work with people in the future?
Well, it's at the bar. It's a very high bar. It reinforced that you really need to be intentional about who you bring onto a team.
Sure.
And it was in those first 2 weeks, I'd say the first 2 months that were probably the most enjoyable for me. It was in that foundational phase of sort of building the team, understanding our workflows, how do we get the best out of each other? Because that, for me, once we set up those mechanisms, to bring in an Amazon word, that's how we formed a team that really would be, and I'm gonna say another Amazon word here, really be customer obsessed, right? Really be delivering the best for our client, and then inherently for ourselves.
I'm happy we paired ourselves together, because that's not my favorite part is setting up those communication channels and how are we going to operate. Whether that's because that's something I just assume happens naturally, which I think you've probably learned from experience in your career maybe does not happen naturally. And I've had the fortune of not having to think about that. But I'm glad we paired together, because that's something that I'm like, just work together. Everyone knows how to work together. So I think that was a good collaboration of skills.
100%. And I think one of the themes that we really touched on is then this sort of future-facing idea of, all right, now we have been in school for 3 years with these people, right? And now that we've graduated, it's like, now what, right? What do we do? How do we then cultivate this lifetime, this cohort, for our entire life? And this is, Nick, where I want to bring in our special guest question. So every guest in this podcast, because, no one wants to hear my voice for however long this podcast is going to be. No one wants to hear my voice that long. So we're bringing in a special guest. You have no idea who they are.
I do not know who this is.
You do not know. So let's take a moment. We'll watch this. Viewers will also watch it, and we'll have you answer.
Wonderful. I'm excited.
Cool.
Hi, Nick. I can't wait to see how this podcast turns out. For those of you watching that don't know me, my name is Tiffany Lynn. I am a FEMBA 2024, and Nick and I were on the same learning team, first learning team, which is really exciting. So Nick, my question for you, And to give you some context, I've always really loved how open you are to new experiences, and being part of your learning team, you've pushed us to be very open to new experiences as well. So my question for you is, can you share maybe a moment during the FEMBA program where you stepped outside your comfort zone, but that helped you grow later on? Really excited to hear your answer.
I always love seeing Tiffany, so that was a very
She's the best.
That was a very well selected special guest. That always puts a smile on my face. Yeah. Tiffany and I were in the same leadership foundations and first learning group together, so that was always the most like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a imprinting,
Yes.
where
Yes.
It's such a new experience and you're a bit scared and you're not sure where it's going to go. So whoever you're paired with is like, oh, we're friends now. Which me, Tiffany, and my original learning group are such great friends even after the fact, right? But it's such like an imprinting experience to see that original learning group out in the wild post program, because it brings back a lot of really good memories of like starting the program. To answer her question about pushing myself out of my comfort zone, can I say the entire program?
Yeah. That's called a cop out.
So from like 2021 to 2024 June was the most when I stepped out of my comfort zone when I decided to go to school part-time while working. No, I think I really tried to. There's two instances that I think of immediately. I tried to push myself with the curriculum, and when I say that, I mean the electives that I chose. Right. Obviously, we don't get to pick our core electives. We have to go through those, and those are challenging in their own right. But I found the opportunity in the electives to think about, what am I really good at? What am I scared of or not good at that I know I'm going to have to be good at?
Yeah.
And then I think the second thing would be, not to hark back to capstone too much, but I think at some point during our project, we were kind of asking each other, like, who wants to be the liaison for this, or who wants to lead this report writing? I kind of raised my hand and said, I kind of want to be the point person for, not necessarily like a lot of work or like deep work, but I want to be the point person for communicating with the executives and our client. Something that as an engineer I never do. Like, I'm in the back designing things, and I go, here's the product, do with it what you'd like, bring it to market, right? Very different set of skills. And in the moment when you are communicating and having these discussions with these executives, everything that's happening in that moment is how you're building that relationship and how you're showing up for the client. So that was a skill set I really knew I wanted to build as a leader and as a business person, is like, how do I show up in the moment for customers, for clients, for partners? And that was a big step out of my comfort zone, because not only were they an executive team in a industry I wasn't familiar with, they were overseas. They were a Madridian company with a bunch of people who weren't even from Spain, so they were from all over, right? So many different cultures, personalities, professional habits and dynamics, right? So that was a course 101 in executive communications that I didn't know I was going to take. It wasn't on the UCLA Anderson curriculum, but I ended up making the class myself.
7 months after graduation, I think there's a lot of benefit of getting your MBA, whether you're doing it full time or whatever, is that you have this, what I was called, forced connection amongst folks. You're in class for hours at a time. In
the full time program.
Even in the fully employed too. I mean, you're together for 3 years or 2 years, whatever it is. But now we don't have that luxury of seeing everybody all the time. So I think one of the things that people always say about their MBA experience is that, yes, you learn a lot in the classroom, you round out certain skill sets, but at the end of the day, it's about the relationships that you make. So how are you navigating this sort of extending or fostering these relationships outside of school post-graduation?
I think after going through the UCLA program, we were exposed to a level of learning, social energy and growth that very few environments could offer, ever offer.
Yeah.
I think undergraduate is another example, but nobody knows themselves an undergraduate.
Correct.
Very few do. So that's a chaotic pool to begin with. But graduate school is a place where people who have a lot of their stuff together and have a lot of plans for themselves try something new for the first time again, right? There's very, very few instances in life where you feel like you're a master, you feel confident in yourself, and now all of a sudden you're voluntarily throwing yourself back into a pool where you're not the expert anymore, and you don't know people. So the level of just like social energy and growth, and the level of just interaction that we had with very bright individuals, I think leaving the program, it left I need that. We all get it in some form at work, hopefully, but even so, like if I went to work every single day and didn't continue to grow a relationship with you, with our capstone group, right, with people in my cohort from Anderson, there would be a big part of like me missing. And maybe that's me being an extrovert. Maybe there's a lot of introverts out there that are like, perhaps. I am so happy I don't have to go to another happy hour. But
I don't know if livers can take that anymore.
No. They became less and less happy hours. And more. I enjoy being with you, but I'm getting old. Maybe it's me being an extrovert, and maybe that's and maybe there's a lot of introverts in the program that turned into that, which was like, wow, this level of connection, camaraderie, intellectual curiosity, growth, it inspires people to be a little bit more outward with themselves. And for someone who's already extroverted, it did for me even so. Leaving that, there was a gap. There was a hole to be filled of like, and maybe also I'm a lifelong learner. I like to say that if college was free, which it is definitely not, I would probably go to class forever, just because it's a great way to continue to grow. That drives me to continue the relationship that we have with all of our friends and former classmates. Is there's that continued interest between all of us in growth, in support, right? Because it doesn't end once we graduate. In fact, it only just begins, I would say, right? So as much as the program is a challenge for us, it's, if anything, it's an upskilling, it's a toolkit packing for us to be like, okay, you now have that cornerstone for you to work off of. Now's the time for you to really grow and take a launch pad to where you want to be. And I think this is the point where all of us really come into play in supporting each other and continuing that growth process. So that's why I really try to make as much time as possible to keep that alive, to keep that growing, because I wouldn't be where I am today without everyone in the program.
And to that end, I mean, you recently went through a pretty transformative time in your own career. I mean, you were at Edwards for
7 years.
7 years.
7.5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and now you're starting a new job at Johnson Johnson, which again, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's huge. That. And for the listeners, it's not just a new job. It is a sort of you're out of the engineering box now, or you're in. I know you're like, so sad to see that go.
Not to bring up your old institution. I feel like Harry Potter on the train.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Yes, I am leaving engineering.
So walk me through that time. Walk me through the months where you knew that your time at Edwards was coming to a close. The job market was not great.
Fantastic.
Oh, it was really, really great. And there were so many people in your shoes. There were so many people that had just graduated from their MBA and all of a sudden were almost out of luck. And now, in essence, a lot of the promises that we had come into the program for seem to, in essence, dry up in an instant from forces that are beyond any of our controls. So walk me through how you sort of leveraged your Anderson cohort, your experiences at Anderson, to get to where you are now.
Yeah, I think looking back at, we graduated in June, right? Looking back at my personal journey from then till now, I don't know if it could have been any more serendipitous than the way it happened for me.
Yeah.
To add a bit of color, Edwards Lifesciences did a pretty large layoff in October, November timeframe, and my program was part of that. So I was laid off in a larger group of people from the Orange County site. And I just graduated. Like, if we talk about what the vision is coming out of business school, right? You graduate with your degree, a bunch of recruiters want you to work at their company, and then you go get the job you've always wanted for your entire life.
For double the money.
Obviously that is sugar-coated in a way that I think we all know deep down is a little bit unrealistic for everybody. But to see that and hear that and envision that, and then go, oh, by the way, you just graduated, we need to cut workforce, and the job market's not great. Companies can't really fund headcount because of interest rates and budgets and the whatever it might be, whatever knobs you want to turn to talk about why things are the way they have been for the past 4 or 5 months. Coming out of October with, luckily the company that I worked at, Edwards, was very generous in how they let go of a lot of employees, and they gave me a huge timeline, a runway of salary to like be able to look for a job that I want to pivot to, right? So I knew in the back of my mind when we graduated, I knew that I was going to start looking for my next opportunity. It was kind of I'm very much a serial process person where it's like finish the degree, start looking. It's hard for me to start thinking. It was hard for me to start thinking about what's my next job before I'd even gotten the degree. But so that was something going through my mind in June. Was okay, I've graduated. What's next for me? I kind of have an idea. I want to do strategy. I want to do upstream marketing for healthcare, for med device, because that's where my skill set is. What does that look like? What's the market look like for jobs right now? And before I'd even gotten laid off, it was like I already knew. I was like, ooh. And that was part of me waiting, was like, the job market's not great right now. Let me wait a little bit to see what happens at the end of 2024, early 2025. And I think, I like to say, luckily, I was given the opportunity to take my days of the week and use that for self-exploration, for market research, for understanding where do I want to end up, and how do I want to leverage everything I just learned in the past 3 years. And the people that I've met, which I'll get to in a second, were some of the best resources I've ever had, were the people that I built relationships with in the program. How do I want to bundle this all up in an effort to get what I'd like to get, which is a job in healthcare strategy and in upstream marketing. From like October until pretty much through the holidays, December, I was grinding. I was on phone calls with people from our cohort, with people from industry that were UCLA alums. The number of people that I cold messaged on LinkedIn that were not in our class, and were not even a year's adjacent to our class, that I said, hey, saw you're an alum, go Bruins, right? Would love to get some of your time to talk about, how you've leveraged the program to get where you are now and how you're enjoying XYZ industry or position you're in. And the number of people that got back to me was almost 100%. Wow. Obviously, people are different amounts of busy, so the amount of time that takes is different. But the number of people that, binarily got back to me was almost 100%, right? Wow. So that in itself was a really serendipitous proof of the value of what we experienced, which was the network, the group of people that we build relationships or that have gone through the same process, right? So just through that journey of talking to people, learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about the industry and how it's changing. A lot of the questions I would ask in those conversations were, how's the industry? How's the market? How's hiring for you guys right now? And a lot of people told me they were looking for new opportunities too, and they were waiting because it's not a good time to do that. And I could tell you right now, it definitely wasn't.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think through all of that, self-learning, reaching out, getting to know new and reconnecting with old people, I was able to find the opportunity that I now have at Johnson Johnson to bridge that gap between the technical background that I have and the Bruin education that I just completed. Yeah.
Controversial question, do you feel you have gotten this position without your MBA?
That's a very good question. I don't think so. I could have found it. I didn't find this opportunity through the UCLA network. I didn't find it by talking to anybody. It just happened upon a posting or something. But I 100% know that had I not had the education at Anderson and the experiences through capstone and the coursework and the group work, I would not have gotten this opportunity because for those who are like unfamiliar, in my opinion, going from a technical role as an engineer to kind of the higher kind of viewpoint of strategy and upstream marketing. It's a mindset that doesn't happen like that. It has to be crafted over time, and it's something that you have to be curious about. And then there's education and frameworks and ways of going about how to think about healthcare strategy and healthcare marketing. So I don't think I would have been even remotely a viable candidate for that role without Anderson.
Yeah, I will say, seeing it from the sidelines anyway, it's been, I've seen a lot of how you've used your experiences at Anderson to get to where you are. Even if it's not necessarily in interviews going through specific case studies and talk about this or that, it's more a mindset. You are, I saw that transformation in you of sort of coming into your own as a leader.
Thanks, man.
As a as a specialist, as someone that's curious, right? I saw that in you, and I can't wait to see where this takes you, especially now internationally. So, which is very, very exciting. Lightning round. So I would love any of the lightning round. You know the rules of lightning round.
Sure.
Quick, pithy answers.
Yeah, that's me.
There you go. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Favorite class at Anderson?
I would have to say customer analytics or customer assessment.
Okay. Best trip? Not necessarily educational wise. Best trip, either socially or educational.
Japan was the best trip. Yeah.
Why?
I think just another opportunity to throw yourself into a culture, into a place that's so different than what you're used to, and also the people that we went with were such an amazing group of people to share that experience with. I think that trip itself changed my curiosities about where I want to go and what I want to see. So Japan was without a doubt the best trip.
Kiss, marry, kill. Saturday classes, Sunday classes, or weeknight classes?
Okay, this is super easy. Kill weeknight classes. I live in Orange County, so there's no way I am doing that off my free will.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're left with Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
I would marry Saturday classes, and this is an odd verbiage for I would kiss Sunday classes. And do you need to know why that is?
Yeah, I'd love to know why that is.
Listen, and this comes from the grit comment I made earlier. There was something about Saturday classes and the Saturday cohort.
Yeah.
The people that are willing to just give up their entire Saturday, not give up, but commit their entire Saturday to an education and to talking with people, that takes a lot of commitment. That takes a lot of intentionality. So I loved the energy of a Saturday with everybody. And then Sunday wasn't a kill because it's not a weeknight, but it definitely wasn't my favorite because we had work the next day. So I was just like, I need a buffer between having all days of class and then going back to work. So Sunday was like, if I have to, I have to, but much prefer Saturday.
Yeah. Okay, final question. And this may be a slightly loaded question.
Lightning.
Best friend in the program?
Best friend in the program.
Hard
Dylan. I'm trying to think who it was. Obviously, you, Elias. We're sitting here talking for hours, and we'll probably continue to talk for hours. Even
we will continue to talk for hours for sure.
But,
yeah, exactly.
No, for sure, you. I think. No, there's very few people I can have really heart-to-heart conversations with, be vulnerable with, be open with, share success stories, share challenges with. Yeah. So I really appreciate every time you and I connect and every time we get to share each other's journey together because I think we would not be on the same trajectory without it. Yeah. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, well, and
thanks, man.
For all the same reasons, likewise, buddy. So, yeah, well, listen, thank you so much for coming on, Nick. This is really exciting. Thank you for being my guinea pig.
Yeah.
And thank you, viewers at home, listeners in your ears, wherever you're listening to this too. Stay tuned for more AnderChats. More will be coming soon. And until then, stay curious.